Program do not necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. We're continuing from last week. Of course, I have Cynthia Tenorio Terlai here telling us her story about the war, what happened to her as a young child during the war. Good evening, Cynthia. Thank you again for
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, this evening. So we left off, Cynthia. You were at a party, okay?
That's right.
At the Terlahi residence up in Jonia.
Pido family.
Pido family, okay? And Francisco, who later we found out that he was the individual that saved you, basically. But his story, but you didn't know each other. I mean, you knew each other, but you didn't know that each other.
We've been talking, but not knowing.
He didn't know you were the child. So, anyways, he was telling his war story to everybody, and his war story was basically what did he say? He was saying.
He was telling everybody, says, before he dies, he wanted to know about the girl that he picked up in Bakungo, in Manengon.
Okay.
Whether she's still alive, married, or off island, or joined the novice.
Sure.
That's the big. That's his wish. And then, after he started telling that, and then says, I mentioned that. But do you know the name? And then he started to mention, and then he paused for a little bit and he says, Callisto.
Callisto, okay.
Callisto.
Callisto, okay.
That's my father's name.
Oh, okay.
So when he mentioned that, and I said, and you know the last name, and then he says, Tenorio. And, I don't know how he got the name,
sure.
But then when he mentioned that, that's when my husband just let go with me, and I went over there. I sat on his lap, really, and I was really crying, and then Tibek, his older sister says, "What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her?" And then took him, my hand on his face, and I told him to take a good look at this face, and then he says, "You wanted to know, and who is the girl that you picked up in the book in Manengon?" And I face to face says, "Take a good look. It's right here facing you, And then, I started crying, and then my husband says, it's okay, And then everybody just came running over towards me, even his children. And it's like a big reunion, And they all hug me and everything. And this is that, we know about all the stories about you and Pop, but we didn't know it was you. And that was the first, time that we finally get.
So what was Francisco's response to that when you said, that girl for the years that you wanted to know who she was, whether she was still alive or whatever, and this is me, you're looking at him. What was his response to you?
He looks like a ghost, actually. He was stunned. He didn't know what to say. He's just looking at me, just stunned. Just looking at me and says, "But you're Terlahi." And says, "Yes, I became a Terlahi, because I married your nephew." And boy, I'm telling you, that celebration that night, I forgot about the party. Just it's Santa Maria, and the reunion of the family, and they really welcome me,
So here we are. Your story. All these years, you didn't know the man that saved you. You were in search of the man. You didn't know whether he was still alive and all that. Okay, and so you finally got this. 35 years later, you found each other. He was telling his story, and then you were listening to it, and he was telling your story. So you found each other again in a family function, not knowing that again is all. I mean, fate were to have it that you had married his nephew. You've known each other, but not each other's story, right?
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. Let's fast forward. again, because your story, you were in search. But we have, of course, Francisco's son here. See Ray Terlai here as well from Jotnia, that Pido clan, right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes, sir. Yeah.
And you're here. Ray, your father has a story as well over the years. Please tell us your dad's story.
Okay, first of all, just thanks for inviting me over. Just give me a moment, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyways, when we were growing up, my siblings, my dad and mom would always tell us a story. All the time they save this little girl when they were marching in Lincoln. Anyways, my dad said that he was passing by this cave, and yes, like Cindy said, he was carrying my older sister at the time. Well, now she's my older sister, and she was young. And anyway, she gave my older sister to my mom, and you know, she told my mom, she goes, because they heard this girl crying, baby crying, in the cave. So she gave my older sister to my mom, and told my mom that she's gonna go check on this baby crying in the cave.
In the cave,
And,
yeah.
you know, it was just so unusual because you don't know if it's a Tato one or whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, so he went inside, and this is my father's story here to me. And house, he found her, and what he said was when he found her crying, he asked her, "Where is your parents?" And she said that they're outside the cave. My dad, knowing that there's nobody outside the cave other than the people walking, marching, told her that he's gonna take her, and to don't be afraid, because she's gonna, you know, save her, because she was abandoned. Anyway, he carried her and wrapped her around his body, you know, like
Backpack, basically, yeah.
and she was really, really sick, diarrhea, pneumonia, vomiting, and all those. And you know, she told my dad that she's, you know, has diarrhea and vomiting. My dad said, you know, it don't matter. Do whatever you have to do, but they're not gonna stay and they're gonna walk. So they did. They walked to Sumer or Agat, and when they got there, they gave her to the Marine Corps medic. Then that was the last time they saw her. And to, you know, when she was saying the story, 35 years. All this time, you know, when she got married to my cousin, Pitu, we didn't know who she is. I know who she is. We know she, but we don't know that.
You don't know the stories.
The girl
yeah,
that was saved
yeah.
by my dad.
So Ray, your dad's story all these years when he told about the war, he always told this, right? He always wondered as well as she wondered who this guy was. Yeah. He always wondered who this girl was, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And just, you know, when Dad was telling us the story, you know, to me and my siblings, you know, I can feel the pain in him, you know, because what he said is it's God's, as you say in English, God sent, that he found this girl, and the minute he found her, he felt the connection, you know, as a daughter. And you know, when he tells the story, you know, we can feel the pain, me and my siblings, and you know, we just kind of comfort him and say, you know, Dad, you know, one of these days you're gonna meet her, and when that day come, then the closer of you thinking or wondering where she's at or who she is, will close.
Yeah, and all this time as well, of course, as kids, right? You want to help that hurt.
Yeah.
But you didn't know how to help because you had no clue.
Yeah,
you had no
right.
clue. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't know
that's
if
true.
this girl was alive, if your dad's imagination or all these. You didn't know that. I mean, you didn't know where to start.
It's true,
And all the time she was amongst you.
Yes, you know, we've been gathering for parties and not
Yeah.
knowing that
Yeah.
it's her.
Yeah.
You know, and then that night that she was that we met her, she became part of our family. And to add on, you know, my dad side of the family and my mom's side of the family accepted her as one of my siblings. Yeah. And you know, it's a good feeling. You know, when both of my side of my parents, you know who she is.
Yeah. You know, Ray and Cynthia, I got to take a quick break here. When we come back, the great reunion. So again, in you know, in the worst of times, we also see the best of people and the best of times, right? Be right back.